Up next is the tip of the week. This is a feature where we show you a trick or two on how to use some certain feature on your phone or some other feature in a given app. And now for this week's episode, here's your tip of the week.
And we close this week's episode with a tip of the week, and Warren returns to AntennaPod and shows us how to manage chapters.
Hi. For episode 191 tip of the week, this is demonstrating how you go about managing chapters using the AntennaPod. In our last week's episode, we had an app bonanza and I demonstrated the AntennaPod. However, it was a little bit too lengthy, so I didn't show you how to manage chapters. Today, though, we'll do that as a tip of the week. And here's how you go about managing chapters in AntennaPod. I am already in the app, and I will tap on the Blind Android Users podcast and especially episode 190. And here we are.
Episode 190, third quarter app. Back button out of list.
Now, what we need to do is tap at the title or the title of the episode at the very bottom of the phone.
Page, episode 190, third quarter app bonanza, 1 hour 16 minutes, July 27, 2024, web view.
And I'll tap here. Upon tapping on that episode name, we're now on a new page. And here we have some buttons. Starting from the top left, we got
Back button.
And moving right.
Add to favorites button.
Right.
Set sleep timer button.
Right.
Cast disconnected.
And right.
Share button.
That's what you have there. And below that is basically the show notes. However, if you want to see the show notes, you could scroll up and you'll see that it'll reveal it. Now, below that, though, we have this information, starting from the left and going right.
Swipe up to read show notes in vertical pager.
And moving right.
Chapters.
We have chapters, and to the right of that, we've got a couple buttons. We've got
Previous chapter button.
Previous chapter, and to the right of it,
Next chapter button.
And then below that, we have the playback controls. At the very bottom, starting from the left, we've got
Playback speed, out of grid pager.
That's the playback speed.
1.00.
Moving right.
Rewind button.
Moving right.
Play button.
Right.
Fast forward button.
Right.
Skip episode button.
That's the last button there on the bottom right. Now let's look at the chapters, moving my finger just slightly above the
Fast forward button. Chapters in vertical pager.
is the chapters. So if I tap here,
Chapters. 0 hours 0 minutes and 0 seconds. Intro. Duration. 3 minutes in list.
so we are here on the chapter page, and it tells you the duration, how many minutes each chapter has. So the first one is the intro, and the intro is 3 minutes. And to the right of each of these chapters is a play button.
Play chapter.
Next,
0 hours 3 minutes and 55 seconds. Announcements. Duration. 3 minutes.
and if I move my finger to the right
Play chapter.
and I tap, I double tap to stop the playback. That's how you go about managing chapters using your AntennaPod. Thanks for listening.
Does AntennaPod let you mark chapters in advance that you'd like to listen to? I did hear of a podcast app on the other platform that did that, and that sounded like quite a neat chapter handling feature. So you'd go in, tick the ones, and it would just skip all the other ones. I don't know if we have an app that does that.
I don't think I see such a feature. It could be maybe under one of those nested menus that I didn't go into, but I can't say for sure.
No, most don't, to be fair, and I'm only aware of one app on iOS that ever did it, but it did sound quite neat. I have to say, I'm not a massive user of chapters, even though we support them. I just tend to either play a podcast or not play it. I don't tend to fiddle around with them, but I know a lot of people like them, and it's important we have them. But I did quite like the idea of that sort of functionality.
What is nice is that, and you saw it in Warren's demo just now, is that this has controls to skip to the next chapter in the play controls. So if, like in a previous segment of this podcast, if, we were running our mouths about something and you were like, okay, I'm ready for the next subject, you could just hit that next chapter button without having to bring up the chapters list or anything, and it just takes you right
Exactly.
to the chapter. So that's a nice, I'm glad they have that.
I like that feature too, because if you know what the chapters are, especially you listen to the intro and you're listening to the Spotlight or Android Basics, and you didn't want to hear the confused screen reader, you could just skip, right?
You can skip until you reach the commentary screen reader episode, and then you just the commentary segment, and then you watch it and leave the podcast.
Oh, that might have to go in the outtakes. Karine called it the confused screen reader. Oops.
Exactly. You can, and you'd know the intro music, so just keep hitting skip to next chapter until you hear the right music that you're there for, and then just
Exactly.